Hey guys, I'm Anthony from Una. I'm actually the president and CEO. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say.
you sound
And cut.
you sound pretty fancy. What do you actually do at this shindig?
Pretty fancy. So I'm one of the founders, and I always use the line like, my job is to make sure we're doing the right stuff the right way at the right time.
I like
I
that.
like a fancy way, but I don't really consider myself a manager. I like to go with more the phrase of like a leader and a coach. You know, how can you help people just kind of stay and avoid pitfalls if possible, but sometimes you just gotta get your teeth kicked in.
That's why I like working for you. You're just fun. So today we're talking about what businesses should know about GPOs. First off, some people watching this may not even know what a GPO is. What is a GPO?
Right, what is a GPO? What a fun dinner topic. A GPO, so it's a fancy way of saying it's a group purchasing organization, but really what it is a buying solution. So most businesses, small, medium, even large, have expenses. You know, the everyday operating expenses, everything from office supplies to telecommunications to hotel travel, you name it. And what a GPO does is allows for you to get access or discounts or leverage buying volume as a business that you could never get on your own. So in a fancy way, you know, we always kind of say it's like the Costco for B2B, the whole membership model, the leverage model, only you don't have to pay a fee, and you get all the savings, you know, the realized savings to operate your business.
That's cool. So the word we toss around a lot is like increase your buying power. What do
Right.
you mean by that?
Increase your buying power. So, you know, most general businesses, whether you're 50 million, 100 million, you know, billion top line, you know, your focus has been sales and growth, and you're not probably focusing, I guess as you start to get to those levels, you are thinking about your indirect spend or unplanned spend, if you will. But most companies didn't grow their business by thinking about that. And this idea of like increasing your buying power and working with a partner like us or a GPO solution is that they have all the leverage contracts, they have all the leverage buying power, they've negotiated and worked and leveraged and put together and contracted all of the volume, set the pricing, put the terms in place, worked with the suppliers nationally or regionally. And the beauty is that joining a GPO, typically if it's done right, you get that a la carte, you get that for free as a business, and you don't have to deal with all the hassle. So you get access to something for free, all the leverage buying power is there, you get to join a great community. And I think that's what we want. If there's one thing I could say to educate the business community about it that may already know or is thinking about a GPO or a solution like that, is that that's even available. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is, okay, now I understand what a GPO is, and or more or less, or this idea of a purchasing solution, what does that mean for me, and what's the control, and which I think we'll get into some of that.
I think some people hear GPO and they think, like, that's great, what's the catch? Like, what do you say to that?
That's usually a great line, actually, if you're at a point with a prospect or maybe just an informal dialogue early on with a customer of, you know, what is the catch? And usually when I hear that, or if our sales team hears that, or development executives, we know that we're having a healthy back and forth because they feel like it's too good to be true. And typically at that point, it's just how can we slow down? And I was even talking to a prospect today of, you know, just the difference between like a butcher and a dietitian. You know, what I want, especially for Una as a brand, but then what I would encourage other GPOs or solutions that are servicing the business space in our community is, don't go the butcher route. You know, the butcher route is, I just want to sell you meat. You know, just get connected to contracts. Like, let's go. Whereas in the dietitian route, if we go with the food metaphor, they want to understand your body and like what you respond to, what are you allergic to, what are your eating habits today, and get to know, like, maybe you don't need meat, maybe you have too much red meat already in your diet. Well, I would liken that to the business world. Like, we're an a la carte system, and a real GPO partnership should look at things from, hey, let's build a recipe, or let's build a plan that makes sense for you. Let's focus on more specifically categories that fit you. For example, off supplies, maybe that's a great category. It makes sense for you. Let's talk about it. Shipping, is there a real need there? Hotels or travel discounts, you name it, and kind of looking at these things and saying, and having a real understanding of, we want to just approach things from a consultative, dietetic approach, not just sell you something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when I get that question, that's usually when I have that conversation, or when we get that question, and we just want to make sure that we're just being real and authentic about, what we can do and what we can't do.
Mm-hmm. It's like what I picture a good healthcare broker being able to do, is that really like personal sit down with you, what are your needs, okay, let's
Sure.
get your criteria and figure out the perfect kind of plan that like works for you. It's almost like a consultative role for businesses.
The other thing too, when I say, try us out, we don't make you commit. That's the beauty of our model, is it's, we get something in place and we get an arrangement or an agreement, or we find a few categories and we can bring value, and we test that out for 3-6 months, is every day we have to get up and prove ourselves, because we don't have long-term commitments. Our commitment is what we did and committed to day one. We need to be doing that in day 365 or however long we get to work together. And so it's our job to enforce the terms, the services, the pricing with the suppliers. So it's a twofold, like our customers are suppliers and the customers that are using the programs that we have put in place. So there's a lot to manage there and take into account when working with a new client that says, well, what is the catch and what does this mean for us? And are we showing, or, I would advise GPOs or our community that's in this space to make sure they're really understanding the needs of the client and taking that into account as I have to go back to the dietitian metaphor. I just can't, or the consultative approach when it comes to bringing value through a GPO and working with an integrated business.
Do you think that's one reason maybe businesses are like hesitant to partner with a GPO? They think they're going to just be locked into a contract or kind of sold something they don't need, or?
I think all those are fair. Locked into a contract, sold something they don't need, or they don't have control over the SKUs or the arrangement or the service or the terms. And I think in some ways, I would make room for some of that. And it just depends on the circumstance, the volume, the commitment, the locations, what are the expectations. Some of the biggest causes of frustration are unmet expectations or undiscussed expectations. And we just think about that as a brand and as a company and our core values. But yeah, I think, taking into account what's your current situation, and do you even really understand that you have access to a GPO? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of what we deal with is the education gap of, well, one, why would I want to use you? Like in the supply chain model, you're an extra step. But then I usually just turn around and say to Mr. Procurement Officer or CFO or Controller, hey, through some of our contracts, let's just use off supplies, we have over a couple $100 million in spend going through one of those categories. How much are you doing in off supplies? And that usually is kind of like to set the stage and not trying to make anybody feel bad, but it's like, look, if you're doing $1 million and we're doing $200 million, and we can work out the terms and get pricing that makes sense, and we've leveraged this in our entire community, whether you're with Una or not, it's just getting that concept. And some businesses don't want to work with a GPO. They think they're going to lose control. I think it gets back to the dietitian thing. Like, does it make sense for you? Mm-hmm. I think in a lot of categories where you don't have the time, you don't want to spend the time or the resources or the manpower, or you don't have the indirect spend to support it, then work with an outside partner. It's no cost, and we go to work for you. So that's usually the conversations we have. And the biggest deterrent that I see is for businesses, they don't know it's even available. They don't know they have access to a GPO. And then when you are sitting across the table from, that CPO or CFO or controller or what have you, it's, well, I'm the purchasing manager. Why do we need you? And that's the other challenging question. And usually the biggest hurdle for us to get over is like, look at us as a complementing ancillary, addition to. We're not a replacement. We're an addition. So use this when you want to.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, Anthony.